I've had the privilege of catching up with Clinton Anderson. It is such a joy to have you on Unbridled. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came from Australia to being so successful and well known in America.
Well, I grew up in Queensland, Australia, which is the top right-hand corner. A lot of people don't know where it is. Grew up in the city as a general rule, but my grandparents had horses, and me and my sister would go down to their farm on the weekend and ride the horses as kids. My grandparents really kind of fostered the whole horsemanship things in me and my sister, and we just kind of kept progressing. When I was 15, I left high school and I started my full-time apprenticeship with horse trainers in Australia, Gordon McKinley and Ian Francis, and pretty much got my feet wet in the industry and learned about how to train and communicate with a horse. I love what I do. Basically, to me, it's like every day is a vacation. I get to work with horses. Horses really, you know, this is the greatest animal in the world. You know, until you've really been around a horse and smelt them and touched them, and it's a feeling that you really don't get from a lot of other animals. And so now what we do is I travel all over the United States teaching people horsemanship skills, how to be safe with their horses, how to enjoy what they're doing with them. And I get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing people be around horses, you know.
When you were little and you were first introduced to horses, did you immediately have an affinity for them, or did it grow over the years?
No, I remember from the very beginning I loved them. You know, as a kid, I remember the first thing that most people remember when they first touch a horse is their nose. Their nose feels like velvet. You know, when you touch their nose, it's like velvet, you know, and it's such an amazing feeling when you touch their nose. And no, from the beginning, I've always been drawn to them. I've always been drawn to communicate with them, but never knew really how to do it until I started my apprenticeships and then started working with other trainers. And now, basically, I share what's been shared with me. I pass on to other people what's been passed on to me. So I've been very fortunate in my life, and I pass that on to millions of other people, which will hopefully do the same thing.
There are a number of names in communicating and natural training. Yeah. And how are you different from some of those other names?
Well, I'm more of what you call a meat and potatoes kind of a horseman, meaning that I just kind of cut to the chase. I'm very black and white. I just tell it how it is. Most of the other clinicians that do what I do for a living do an extremely good job. They're very knowledgeable. I have the highest respect for them. But I believe people follow personalities more than what they do technique, meaning that I think people, for example, identify with the personality of somebody that they would like to hang out with. You know what I mean? I'm not real warm and fuzzy. I'm kind of to the point, have a good time, get in, get out. Other people like somebody that's more kind of just a general passive kind of a person. Other people like more of an entertainer. You know what I mean? So I believe that you identify with a person, you believe in their personality, you believe in their concepts, and from that you follow what they say. Now, technique has to work. You know, if I show you something, it has to produce results, otherwise you're not going to be happy. But more than results, you're after an identity and a personality that you can draw to and feel good about it. Because remember, we're in a business where people have 9-to-5 jobs, their horses are their hobbies, their horses are enjoyment, so they want to enjoy their horse and enjoy the people that they're around.
When it comes to working with the horses, yes, they have very different personalities.
Most definitely.
Do you have to work to help people bridge the gap if they have a personality clash?
I suppose, you know, to a non-horse person, I'm like a horse therapist. You know what I mean? Instead of bringing your husband to me for marriage counselor, you bring your horse to me, and I show you how to keep your horse and you relationship healthy and together. So basically, horse training is relatively easy if you understand what horses think. You know, if you understand what makes your horse tick, horsemanship is relatively easy. If you don't understand, it's very frustrating because humans are predators, horses are prey animals. So you're talking about two different species with two different ideas of what's right and wrong. So to me, knowledge is the biggest answer. The more knowledge you get, the more control you get. The more control you get, the more confident you are.
With all the people and horses that you deal with, is there a problem that is the most common to overcome?
I'd say just a general fear of being around a horse. You know, horses are a big animal, aren't they? They're 1,000 pounds, a lot of them. So in doing that, a lot of people have a fear about, Clinton, I'm frightened when I ride. I'm frightened that I might fall off, or I'm frightened that I might get hurt. These are all very real and very healthy. You know, a lot of people feel embarrassed that they might be frightened or in danger. I say, fear is your brain saying, if you don't stop doing what you're doing, we're going to get hurt. So my idea is, don't ignore fear, listen to it. But my point is, get control of the horse. Get control of his feet. Once you can control the horse, then you'll have confidence. Once you have control and confidence, you'll no longer be fearful. How many confident, fearful people you ever met? You're either fearful or you're confident, aren't you? You can't be both. So if you were frightened, I wouldn't say, hey, don't not be frightened. I'd say, use that fear as something constructive. Let's get control of your horse so that then you won't have the fear.
Do you have a horse and human that stands out as the most special to you, that has overcome major challenges?
Oh, well, the most special horse to me is my 13-year-old Australian quarter horse mare, Mindy. I flew her over from Australia a few years ago, and she helps me. I've had her since she was 6 months of age. So she's my personal favourite horse. But, really, I don't really have any particular story of a person, because I talk to 2,500 people almost every single weekend, and I've heard numerous, hundreds of stories of success, and it makes me feel good to know that people are going home and succeeding and being safe with their horses. Everybody plays with horses on a different level, whether it's for recreation, whether it's for business, whether it's a sport. Whatever level you want to play on, you just got to be safe and enjoy it. You only live once, mate.
Do you find that people come back to you for refresher courses with their horses or with new horses?
Most of the people that come to my clinics have been there 3 or 4 times. And we have different levels of clinics, so that if you come to a beginning clinic, next time you come to, say, an intermediate or an advanced level clinic. So there's different stages of my clinic, so you can keep progressing, just like, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In school, you progress up the ladder, basically. You know what I mean? So people come back again and again. A lot of people tell me every time they've heard me, they always learn something new, because sometimes you can't consume everything and hear everything in one session. So every time I watch an instructional video, I always learn something new the second time.
You have influenced so many people with their horses. Throughout your career, who has influenced you the most and why?
I'd say 2 people in Australia, Gordon McKinley and Ian Francis. Gordon McKinley I worked for 2 years when I first left high school. He taught me my basic foundation of my philosophy, how to do the groundwork, how to be safe around horses, colt starting skills. He taught me my foundation. From there I moved on to a guy called Ian Francis, and I worked for him for about a year. Ian Francis won the National Reining Futurity 5 times in Australia. He's won the National Cutting Futurity 3 times. He's a very knowledgeable, all-round kind of a trainer. He taught me how to get horses soft and supple and broke, and those 2 guys probably make up about 80% of what I know. The other 20% came from anybody you could mention. You could say any name that I know in the United States, and I guarantee I probably learned something from them. And I consider myself to be like a learnaholic. I'm a sponge. I love to learn. If I showed you what I know today, I hope in 5 years I'd say, what I showed you 5 years ago? It was good, but I got a lot of better stuff now. Every year I want to get better, and to me that's about keeping an open mind and keep progressing.
You are a role model for many young people that would like to emulate your success with horses. What advice would you have for them?
First of all, I'd say, finish high school. Don't do what I did and leave high school early. I don't regret it, but as an older parent now, well, not a parent, but I would definitely say finish high school. You got the rest of your life ahead of you. And then I'd say follow your passion. If you're passionate about it, put 110% into it. Don't do anything in life, half-hearted. Give it your best or don't give it at all, because you know what? You only live once, and you got to work hard, work smart, and you got to work smarter and harder than anybody else.
Thank you so much, Clinton. It's really been a privilege to spend time with you, and I'm sure our viewers at home have learned something new too. Clinton Anderson.
Thanks, mate.